Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If we can rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, welcome back. I can't believe it's the end of August. Really hard to believe, actually. But we've already, the great set for success, right? That all went well. So thank you, Jamie, and thanks for everybody who participated and made that happen. It's always a great way to kick everything off so the kids get what they need to start the school year. And I heard there were a lot of haircuts. That they were Jill was pretty overwhelmed, I guess. There were a lot of people, so that's good. But thank you all for everyone who participated in that. We're going to move right into it, and we're looking at the minutes from June 9th and then again at June 16th. Has everyone had a chance to review? And are there any comments, corrections? If not, can I have a motion? Oh yeah, you weren't at all of them. Go ahead. Yes. Thank you. And second? All right. And all in favor? Great. Thank you. All right. Adjustments to the agenda. We're going to have one. I'd like to put for 6.5, so right after the public session, patent-free library update, which has to do with Steve's here. He's going to talk about it. It has to do with how we've had a member on the board and how they're rethinking that structure. And so we're going to let him speak to that, and then anyone on the board who wants to speak to it. All right, so that'll be 6.5. Public session. I don't think there's anybody here from the public who's going to speak, as I recognize everybody else. So we'll go right into 6.5, patent-free library. Steve, come on up.
Thank you. I am a member of the public now, so you can double count me if you want. Right. Well, thanks for getting me on the agenda. I will be brief. I serve as a trustee of the Patent-Free Library Board. I came on the board as the RSU representative. It must be close to 15 years ago, maybe, and then since then have served as a trustee elected by the corporators. We have been, the trustees have been working on a set of bylaw amendments, which we intend to bring to our corporators at the October annual meeting of the library. And one issue affects the RSU pretty directly. Currently, there are 12 elected trustees and what we call 3 municipal trustees, the RSU being one of those municipal trustees. City of Bath is another, and then we have a rotating municipal member from the other served communities. So the RSU has a designated seat on the RSU1 board. Not on the RSU1 board, on the Patent-Free Library board. Patent-Free Library, though, serves 2 other school districts. The West Bath School District and Georgetown are also among our served communities. So in our discussion, it struck us that we really had to struggle for a reason to continue having the RSU as a designated seat. And the recommendation that will be made to our trustees from the governance committee, which is a committee that I chair, will be to eliminate that that designated RSU1 seat. We are replacing those seats with a designated representation from each of the served communities. So we're not eliminating municipal representation, but we're just shifting it. So they will, instead of a City of Bath RSU1 and a rotating municipal member, there will be 5 municipal members, one from Bath, Woolwich, West Bath, Rouseck, and Georgetown. There's a generational thing here. Megan has served as the patent free, or as the RSU1 rep on the patent free board. Anita does now. And like I said, I did as well. There's always an ambiguity as to what that membership means. We are as it turns out, one of our trustees is Dawn Lee. So there is RSU1 representation on the trustee board at present. But I know Megan certainly expressed it. I think Anita has also expressed it, and I know I did too. I made a comment at one of first meetings that I went to. You know, am I really a member of the trustees, or am I just there, for 1 year as a sort of a titular thing representing the RSU? So there's some ambiguity as to what that representation was intended to achieve. And like I said, in order to balance, to complete the argument that there should be school representation on the patent-free library board, we would end up adding 3 members, or adding 2 additional members to really be fair. So the recommendation, and I'm here to get your feedback if that's allowed. The recommendation that the governance committee would like to make to the trustees, or intends to make to the trustees, would be to eliminate the designated RSU1 seat. We don't feel that diminishes the input that school districts will have in terms of library governance, but it does seem fairer to us. Again, the other solution is to add a West Bath representative as well as a Georgetown representative. So there are other changes, other bylaw changes that we're recommending, but that's the one clearly that has the most impact on the RSU as an institution, as an organization. So if you have questions, fine.
That's great. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding this? All in agreement? Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
So Steve, you're reducing an RSU1 seat, but you're adding 2 municipal seats. Did I understand that correctly?
The net will be to add 3 municipal seats.
Right. So you're reducing the RSU and adding 2 or 3 more municipal seats.
Right now, we have a rotating, again, Bath has a designated seat, and the other served communities are treated in a rotating basis. So 1 year, West Bath has a representative. The next year, Woolwich would have a representative. The next year, Rouseck, et cetera. 1 year doesn't really give an individual an opportunity to really learn what the library is about, to make a contribution. So we are ending that practice, and each of the served communities, again, Bath loses its uniqueness in that sense. It just becomes one of the 5 municipal seats, and those representatives can serve for 3 years.
Is there any tie between those municipal representatives and the school districts? I mean, because you're saying you're serving all school districts by serving all towns, right? Is that the connection that you're making?
That's the connection.
Okay. And so is there any tie between people who were served from those towns and their involvement or commitment or exposure to the school districts in their town?
The designation of the municipal member will be left up to the governing entity, the select board of each of those communities.
Right.
And it's certainly appropriate in their selection for them to indicate that they would like someone out of the school community to represent that town.
Yeah.
We're trying to, we're trying to give people, give communities a little bit more agency, a little bit more of a sense of ownership of the library. I think as many of you know, we've had issues at town meetings.
Yeah.
Could I just speak to my experience on it?
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't know about Anita's experience, but I don't feel having an RSU1 member got the library any closer to our schools and are affecting. There just didn't seem, there was a disconnect, or I don't know. But I think the bigger connection to our schools through Patent Free Library is through their librarians, not the people who make the decisions in a once a month meeting, but it's making those connections with the librarians who are seeing the kids during the summer and outside of school. And I know from just friends who work in RSU1 that those connections are already made and things are happening. And then I think probably, like you said, I think it'd be better for those smaller communities to feel like they have, like with the West Bath, have a connection or have a say or
Well,
are represented.
a connection, hopefully a feeling of
So
ownership.
I don't think this is a loss. Like, I don't see this as a, like, if I'm making sense. I don't know if,
We don't, it's not being proposed as a punitive way to take something away from the RSU. We think that it's a way to represent the communities more equitably, frankly, so.
Thanks so much.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank you very
coming,
much.
letting us know.
Great work, Steve.
All right,
Thanks
thanks,
for,
Steve. And that's getting voted on when? In October?
Well, it'll come to the trustees in September.
Okay.
Next month.
And then they'll put it out for your annual meeting in October.
The annual meeting is in October.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thanks for coming. Okay, we're gonna go right on to 7.0 Superintendent's Report. Patrick.
Yeah, a few good news and then just some updates. Share with you the graduation reports for RSU1 is 93.37, which is still remains very strong and compared to the statewide average of 87 to 88%. STEM plus M, we talked about that last year, that M stands for manufacturing. They came when they said they were going to come. They brought an 18-wheeler on August 4th with all of the supplies, equipment, furniture, curriculum materials, and they arrived here and they unpacked everything. Thanks to Dennis and his crew, they put a fresh coat of paint on the floor and the walls at BMS in the STEM room, and the company Diversified Educational Consultants, they came and they set up everything here and at Lewiston Middle School. And then last week, they trained 3 of our teachers along with Lewiston teachers. And so we're all set up. We're good to go with new technology, new curriculum around STEM. And so I think the students are going to be very excited when they walk in there, what it used to look like, what it looks like now, as well as all of the tools, equipment and everything. So that is set up and good to go. Lou mentioned this, set for success. We had, and Jamie, you might have different numbers, but we had 503 students that we had checked off that came through. And just would like to thank Jamie and her crew for organizing this, all the community volunteers, and also the RSU1 staff that were there that gave up their time on a Sunday. So very successful. Jamie, do you want to add anything to that?
Just my thanks to Dennis, Buzz, the whole crew that take care of us and allow us to do this so easily, the NYC crew and all of the donors that really come together to make sure everyone has everything they need and more.
So as you know, we have first day with staff Wednesday, and then we have Thursday, and we start with K to 9 on Tuesday and all students on Wednesday. Schools look great, thanks to Dennis and his crew. He's going to talk about some of the major projects in a minute. Just to give you just an update on openings that we have. So we have world language at Woolwich that we've had advertised for most of the summer. That's still open. We have an ed tech and a teacher in the SSP program at Bath Middle School, but that could change as early as tomorrow. We have a Phippsburg pre-K ed tech and a 4-year-old program ed tech that are still open, and a Dyke Newell ed tech. So those could start with a long-term sub at the beginning of the year if we're able to locate and secure that. So that's what's open right now as we look to start the year. Katie, I was going to give a quick update, but do you have this as well? Title monies? Okay. Do you want to just give them a quick overview, or do you want me to start and let you finish? Okay. Yeah. So for Title I, it looked like it was increase from 25 to 26 of 14,325. And then for Title II, it was a small decrease of 4,600, and Title IV positive of 2,000. Okay. And then and my only question was about combining Title IV with Title I.
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially, we waited for a very long time, as you know, to find out about Title IV and Title II. And the money ended up getting put right back in after the review happened of the funds federally. And so I think overall, I would say we're about neutral across the board with, the little fluctuations Patrick just mentioned. And so the plan remains the same of what we'll fund, which is our interventionists at Fisher and Dyke Newell, a teacher at Fisher for class size reduction, some professional development, and all that Title IV money does get rolled into Title I to help pay for that, essentially. I think we'll continue to have to think about, as this money on a good year stays the same and salaries go up, and benefits, because that's also included, of will there be a point where we need to think about a different way of funding personnel? We're not there yet, but in the next couple of years, depending on what happens federally with the Department of Education, we'll just have to keep our eye on that. But for this year, everything looks fine.
Katie, did we lose any funding for our homeless students? Did I read that somewhere? Was there?
There was one grant that is not getting refunded or refilled. However, we do have money because we were one of the spenders. There is more funds that were put in from others that didn't spend it. So we have a little of surplus there. But we are also, I just want to remind you all, are part of a Maine housing grant, which is fully funding the project that used to be coming out of that homeless grant, essentially. So there will be a little money for transportation in our homeless grant. And then through MYC, we will still be able to fund our homeless liaison, Donna Verhoeven, who works with our students. And then families all get, is it $850 or $750? I think it's $850, an $850 essentially grant, family grant. It's $850 per student in a family for the things that we were using the other grant that Jen just spoke of, clothing, food, transportation, CMP bills, phones if a family needs a phone, just immediate hygiene needs, like any of those sorts of things, hotel bills, back rent is one I often get a request for. And so luckily, because we have someone who wrote a really good application on our behalf, we will still have that money and that service for families. And is that Maine housing grant? This is something I don't know, just 1 year? Pilot, yeah. Continue. Okay. And it's neat too, because it was always under the old model, MS 8075 and our district. And this new grant, it's a much more community wide thing where we have Brunswick, we have Richmond participating. Who am I forgetting? Those four. Yeah. So it's a ton of students and families that are getting their needs addressed. And I probably get emails from Donna and one of the other liaisons whose name's pardon me, I can't remember, weekly. And, I think just today I connected 2 families with Donna for help. So it's fabulous.
The Maine housing, is that Housing First, is that the program?
It's separate through the governor's budget from last year.
Okay. Okay.
They have a little bit more money this week to say.
Yes. With some of these, it's nice if you are diligent about spending it and making sure it goes to the right places. Other districts who don't, they end up taking the pot of money and redistributing to those who are, we're good at spending money on kids who need it. So that's good.
Great. Any other questions? Are you all, is that it? Okay. Deb, come on up. Financial report.
So tonight we have two financial reports to look at. And probably the most interesting one would be the one as of June 30th, 2025. And this basically shows that we had a balance in our expenditures of $205,000, which is 5% of the budget. So we came very close. And then as far as the revenue side, we actually ended up receiving about 35,000 more, which was thanks to additional subsidy and interest on investments. And that helped close the gap from our shortage of the tuition revenue. So that worked out great. So between expenses and revenues, that will help continue us fund our fund balance basically so that we can continue using like that $1 million for a beginning balance each budget year. The real difference in the state subsidy was out of district placement that was generated and the multilingual language money. So that was great. Hank is scheduled to come next week, so we're moving along on the end of the fiscal 25 year audit. So that should all be done by December. And then as far as July, here we go. We're starting new. And so this is just basically showing you the expenses that started in July, which is July contract people, a lot of ordering for contracted fees and software and that type of thing. And then our revenue starts in with our assessments from each town. As you can see, that came in there in our subsidy. Down below is the annual grant allocations, which for fiscal year 25, it's all filled up, but I'll fill it up as we move along and we find out what some of the other grants are. Lincoln Health, I do know that BMS was just approved for $57,000. And I know that I think Morse already is in line, but I don't know what the amount is, but I'll fill that in. 98. And then once again, October 1st enrollment. As soon as that's ready, we'll put that on there too, and we'll start watching how the year goes.
Any questions for Deb? Go ahead, Jen.
I was thinking about the change in tuition and revenue, and I was wondering if there's one, let's say, school that would be most of our tuition revenue, if we should be kind of tracking that school with enrollment as well. Like I know we track the enrollment of our towns, but I was wondering, and I'm just guessing like West Bath, if that enrollment fluctuates a lot, I don't know if that would be helpful in terms of looking at our overall enrollments.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can work with Kim as far as finding out the numbers of West Bath students or Georgetown students.
Just thought it might be interesting compared to that tuition change and also the number of people.
Yeah.
And the appropriated surplus went up 100,000?
That did, and that came from the surplus that's put aside for the CTE, because the vocational, the funding of it is different. Basically, if we don't spend everything that they allocate for CTE, it goes into a CTE balance. It doesn't roll into our fund balance. So we were able to use 100,000 of that towards our whole budget because our CTE expenses were above the allocation this year by about 100,000.
So we got more allocation then? I'm sorry.
No, we didn't get, we brought in, so that CTE is not in a separate fund. It's just, but if we don't spend it, it's it's designated as CTE fund balance and can be used on anything that's for CTE. So because our expenses were higher, we could use some of that fund balance that's put aside in the audit towards our fund balance. It's confusing. When they changed the whole CTE subsidy, my opinion is they should put it in a completely separate fund, but they don't. They bring it all in with the general fund.
So this is what our starting balance, so instead of having $1 million, you have $1,100,000.
100. Yeah.
To offset next year to the
Right.
expenses for that.
Right.
And when did that change? Because I thought our budget said it was $1 million.
No, this is what we put in for our budget right from the get-go.
Oh, it was $1,100,000. Okay, sorry, it was a while since I looked at that. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Deb. Appreciate it. Okay, let's get on to new business. And Dennis, why don't you come on up? Let us know all the summer work.
It was a great summer.
That's great.
It really was. We really banged it, I'm telling you. We, besides this work I'm going to talk about, we completed 85 work orders, which is besides this work, and some of this work is really big stuff. And my team, incredible team, really stepped up. So I'll get right at it. So I'll start with Phippsburg. We paved the parking lot in Phippsburg. I don't know if any of you have been by, but they really did a nice job with that. We covered the soffits on the side of the school with vinyl, vented soffits, so we still get the benefit of the airflow. We did that ourselves. We painted window trim up there, and we did a light upgrade on the kitchen. The kitchen really needed some help. We put a new floor, new ceiling, we painted. We reconfigured the storage room, so that came out pretty nice. That looks pretty good. Bath Middle School, we remodeled the 300-wing bathroom. That's something to see right there. I'm telling you, it's something to see. It really came out nice. In fact, we got to do the rest of them because that's how nice it came out. We painted the stem room walls like Patrick talked about. We painted the floor. We moved some wires. We did a lot of other things too. Besides that, we cleaned it out. We did a pretty big job there. And at the middle school, we painted 14 rooms, 14 classrooms. Yes. Yep. Some of them, in all honesty, maybe it was one wall. We tried to prioritize what we had. We had a scale going, and that came out pretty nice. Fisher Mitchell, we built a room inside of a classroom that Ross needed. It's I think it's a quiet room, but it came out pretty nice. We reconfigured his office, so I don't know if you've ever been in there, but he had a little office off to the side. Now it's straight ahead. We built a doorway there. He's got a nice office in there. It's pretty big. The office that he was in is now the nurse's office. We broke through the wall. We cut a hole in the wall, built a wall in the old front office next to it. So that's the lay down room. It has a bathroom. So that came out really good. We painted 3 classrooms at Fisher Mitchell. At Dyke Newell, my favorite job of the summer was mounting that flagpole in the front of the school. We now have a flagpole coming up the steps. I'm waiting for the light. There's a light that goes on top of it. It's solar powered so that we can put the flag up all the time, but it really looks nice. I put the flag up one windy day and it was just beautiful. It's just like, yes. we added a sliding window for the office for safety. It didn't have that. It was pretty poor view. It had the wire glass in it. So we added a sliding window, and it'll be for safety for the school. In Woolwich, we did get the new server for the AC system in and the software. We got that up and running. Seems to be working great. It's nice and cool in that school. And we painted 5 rooms in that school. So our painters were pretty busy. We hired a couple people that work for us in the school year in the office or as a teacher or something. We hired 3 people, and they did most of the painting. So they did a really nice job with that. There's supposed to be a raised crosswalk over here at Morse High School over here, going to the field where the little gate is that we put in. But they haven't done that yet. They're supposed to do that this week. I've been kind of after them a little bit. Bath Tech, in the culinary, we repiped a dishwasher in there. It wasn't getting the volume that it needed. I think we're going to still do some work to that. I don't think we've quite got where we need to be yet with that. And district-wide, we painted all the parking lots, all the new lines. So there's new lines in all the parking lots except for Morse, which we did a touch up for the worst ones, but we painted it last year. We're trying to get it so we're getting on a 2-year rotation or 2-year cycle. That seems to work well. Once we start building up the paint, it'll last a lot longer. So that's pretty much what we did this summer. Although the summer's not over, we still have another few days, right? So.
That's fantastic. Thank you for all that great work. Does anyone have any questions or
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
any other things?
All
No,
right.
that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
What? Wait.
I just read the other day that Jason Libby was at the Woolwich Town Selectmen meeting about transportation issues, traffic issues. Is that something that he's been able to talk to anyone about?
I have been working on, somebody wrote a grant in Woolwich for the flashing 15-mile-an-hour speed limit lights.
Oh, yeah.
So we're working on that. I have to dig safe a spot. I have to get with the town, and we've got the lights. We've got everything we need to put them up.
I think it was more the people, I think the fire department, I could be wrong, but I think it was the fire department worry about trying to get past all the cars parking on the road during drop off and pickup.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Jason. We talked about it once. I knew he was going to the meeting, and he had some suggestions that might help,
Okay.
might help a little bit, during that time. So I know he was exploring those, but I haven't gotten any closure on that. But,
Okay.
so.
All right, thanks.
No?
I would say that the Dennis and his crew, they do a lot of great work for us, and also are willing to come out of their comfort zone a little bit. And so it's kind of fun to visit when they were redoing the bathrooms and seeing our guys do it, which saves us money, but also they really did a nice job and took a lot of pride, even though they were the first ones to say, I'm an amateur, but we really appreciate them.
That's
we ask
awesome.
them to do a lot here, and they step up and do it. So thank you.
They have a lot of pride in
That's
that
great.
job right there.
That's
And
awesome.
They should.
They should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
They did a
job,
great
Dennis.
job. It's incredible. It's a good team.
Yeah.
Excellent team.
Great to hear.
Right.
We appreciate it.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah, this is the annual contract that we have with Dr. Hannah and Midcoast Pediatrics for $4,000, and it's for the actual school year. And Katie works with our nurse group, and we use Amina to consult with during the year at various times, various issues. So it's the amount hasn't gone up from last year to this year.
Great. So this is, unless there's questions, this is an action item. So we need to vote. I need a motion.
I move to approve the agreement for services between Dr. Hannah and
Okay.
Midcoast Pediatrics.
Okay. All those in favor? All right. That passes. The next one is and I think we got that electronically. Thanks, Kim, for sending that. the Lincoln Medical Partners contract, which I understand it's an annual, because that's where I was confused. I just thought it was like a 2 or 3 year thing, and I wondered why it was there again. But Patrick said, no, it's annual. So you want to speak to that before we vote? Or?
Well, it's just an annual thing. Nothing's changed in the contract, and is it $14,000, $15,000 for one part of one position that we have there?
A medical aide who's works officially for us 2 days a week and Lincoln Health for 3, but together they let her do her hours here. So it essentially gives us a second person in the Morse Bath Tech nurse's office 5 days a week. And so that 15,000 is the only thing we pay for every part of the health center services, which is pretty extraordinary. And even though it's a yearly contract, I believe that grant is on a 3-year cycle, but we re-up with Lincoln Health every year. And currently there's no sort of end in sight. There are some health centers that have been around for 15 years. So it's, my understanding is once you're locked in, as long as you're meeting all of your benchmarks, have high number of visits, the insurance payments that they run through Lincoln Health are getting done, which we're passing all of those markers. You just continue on and get all those free services, which is pretty incredible.
That's great. And how is that going here? A lot of kids, a lot of people
Yes.
using it?
Yes.
Good.
I want to, yeah. Well, convenient as a
Yeah.
parent. Sports physicals have been happening.
Oh, we can do sports physical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Staff use it often. If they don't feel well during a day, they can
Yeah.
come down and get a quick strep test. I mean, it's
That's
truly, rather than just guessing and getting to go home, so just through there, just to remind everyone, we have a nurse practitioner, we have a social worker, we have a dental hygienist who comes a few times a year. We now have a tobacco and substance use specialist who counsels students. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. And we're basically able to run vaccination clinics because of the certification that Katrina Barter and our MA have to have
Oh,
a
wow.
special storage fridge. So the required vaccinations that all students need to come to school, we're able to give now.
Wow.
So
that's
again,
big.
not to inconvenience
That's
parents,
huge.
and it's access for the whole district. So we have
Right.
families who come from all of our schools.
That's phenomenal. I didn't realize it's that extensive.
Mhm.
With the vaccinations, that's huge. Okay, great. Any questions?
Katie, how many people outside of Morse access the services? Like, how many, most of it serves people at Morse, right?
I mean, because it's so easy to just walk downstairs, I don't have those numbers, but I know we do offer it. We do offer transportation, and I know it is used. I think it is used most by someone who has a student in Morse and then has other students
Yeah, 'cause they know how to
elsewhere in
access
the
it,
district.
yeah.
However, our numbers of how many people are signed up and have access have gone way up. For instance, I'm just thinking of the numbers from last year. I know when I looked just at September, the numbers of visits to the nurse's office had doubled from one year to the next just because of the amount of capacity, rather than just having one nurse, to have an MA nurse and all those other people. So even in 1 month, we were getting almost 500 visits to the health center.
And those are mostly Morse, right? I mean, I would think.
Morse, Bath Tech students, so
Right.
even students from our sending schools can go. And I don't know how many from other places.
It'd be interesting to see if we were serving the numbers compared to serving students from other districts and serving students in our district, if that had any kind of correlation with each other. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Because the data is the health data, it's actually, I can't see it. It's not in our system. It's run on their computers. It's all HIPAA protected. I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't probed because it's nothing I have access to. I'm sure I could ask the grant, Annie Pat, who runs the grant, but I'm not sure if they actually collect when kids sign up what school they're coming to, because they're collecting their, what insurance they have, if any, how old are they, like the usual forms. When you go to the doctor's office, they don't ask you, what school do you go to? That's not part of your thing. So I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can ask her.
It'd just be interesting, in terms of the cost that goes into it and how it serves a good broad perspective, of our communities, just to
Mm-hmm.
be able to say, okay, this is how many communities we serve.
Well-
Like, only be, and it only ever will, like, those nurses won't ever go to other schools, right? Everyone has to come to Morris to serve, or those faculty doesn't travel around the district.
No, they can't, because all of their gear that Lincoln Health had to install, and they can't use our computers. They have to use their own because of HIPAA. So it's not travelable.
But can a nurse from another school recommend that someone?
Oh,
come
yeah,
here?
that's what they
Right,
do
That's
all
what
the
they're
time.
doing, right? They're
Mhm.
referring like, oh, you
Yeah.
can go here to get your strep
Mhm.
test, or you can go.
Yeah. And we'll have, nurses borrow one of our vans and bring a kid during
Right.
the day.
Yeah, that's good.
So they can
Okay.
go. So it's really, if people want to go, there's nothing barring them from
Right,
going.
Right.
Anybody
It's
can
not
go.
a big
Yeah.
leap to make that happen.
Yeah.
Good.
We can always continue to do more promotion, but
They
Well, look-
actually, that's
right, but I
part of the grant plan. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I wanted, when we were talking earlier, I thought, oh, I should bring this up. Our nurse practitioner and aide have, as part of their plan, to go to a lot of the events. They had a table, actually, I believe, at Set for Success, for all of the students, and a bunch of the different parent nights at all the open houses
Okay.
and stuff. They're going to
That's
have,
great.
because they want to get more families from
Yeah.
everywhere. I should have mentioned
No,
that.
that's fantastic. So yeah, it's building.
so
That's
my point is we'll continue to do promotion. But
Yep.
at the same,
Oh, gosh,
but at
yeah.
the same time, Rouseck, Bath, Pittsburgh, and Woolwich students are all being served
Yep.
because they
Here.
all come here at the high school. So trying to get that more K population, we'll continue to do that.
Right.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so that sounds really good. So we need, again, this is an action item. We have to approve the contract. So may I have a motion?
I move to approve the contract with Lincoln Medical Partners.
Great. And a second from Megan. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that passes. So we got those two contracts done. 8.4 is our first reading of the ed tech job descriptions. It's not an action item today, but
So
you
yeah,
wanna
we
address
don't
that?
we don't typically do job descriptions very often, because once you do one, they're usually pretty good for a while. But Megan, you might remember this, and obviously Deb, but this, for those of you, we may not have covered this when we talked about the ed tech contract last year. Probably talked more about salary and benefits and the package. But there was a piece in there that was in the contract that said by February of last year, March of last year, that there would be a committee put together and they would review the job descriptions, because they were over 10 years old. So we had our special ed director, we had a principal, we had a regular ed teacher, we had a special ed teacher, and we had 3 ed techs that made up that committee, and they met at least a handful of times, if not more than that. And their focus was really to update the job descriptions that more accurately reflected, regardless of what level you were, what they're doing now. So that was the attempt, and what you have is the recommended changes. I met with them a little bit. Karen Brackett, our new special ed director, used some different wording around some of the certain lines in there. The biggest thing that I would just point out for the EdTech 1 and 2 is pretty similar here. Our preference and our priority is to hire EdTech 2s and 3s because of the education. So I think we maybe had 1 EdTech 1 in the system last year because it was necessary for us to do that. But the EdTech 3, the biggest difference that we have is on the last page, is number 27 and 28. So 27 supervises in community-based programs without teacher administration as necessary. So taking them out to a community event. And then 28 introduces new pre-planned learning in consultation with the classroom teacher or appropriate content specialist. So more flexibility, more freedom, so to speak, more autonomy with EdTech 3 as far as introducing new learning to students, versus a 2 is more planning in conjunction and taking the teacher lead and applying that with the students. So those are the major items. If you have questions, you have comments, I can certainly take them back to the committee before the board considers this for approval in September. But I'd like to thank the committee members for their effort of looking through these, and that's where we're at right now.
Patrick, I just wanted to note on number 29 on that page, you were just pointing out the word "to" is just flipped.
No vote on that today. Was there any questions on?
And the Ed Tech Association has seen this as well?
Yeah, I mean, the other one, there was representation. There was representation. They had 3 people on there, and we've met since then because I had a few questions about what something meant, so we reworded some things. But no, they're in full support of these modifications, and they would be the group I would take any questions that you guys have back to, or comments that you have.
So Patrick, I sent you an email about this, about a couple of the items. And so I guess they were there, and it was around instruction and evaluation, I think, for the 1 and 2. And they said the lead small group instruction, I believe it was, on 1 and 2. And that to me seemed like it was that, I know it was something that has happened, but I thought that was a more controlled by DOE requirements in terms of who was allowed to do that in terms of certifications or education wise. Is that?
No, I mean,
Trying to
they can
remember.
lead that with the teacher kind of supervising, overlooking that piece. They can always work with small groups, and they would have instruction that they would work with students on.
It's also about who wrote the lesson. So the teacher will often write the lesson, but it's the ed tech too who might carry it out if they're not in the same room, in a different room, but the teacher's gone over it with them and has provided them with the materials.
And the evaluation, I mean, wasn't there an assessment with that came in with the 1 and 2 that was in red, which is new?
Yeah. Again, I met with them. I asked them that question. I don't know if you're talking about administer, score, and record such achievement and diagnostic tests for students as assigned by the supervising teacher.
Right.
So again, assigned by the teacher, kind of overseen by the teacher.
Okay.
But that's what's accurate. I mean, that's what's happening now that we're
Right.
having done with Ed Tech 2s.
And is that governed at all by DOE in terms of what any position should or shouldn't be doing? Are there guidelines with that?
There are DOE guidelines on each of the 3 tiers of ed tech, but it's more about how you should be supported and what you're allowed to do on your own. So we work within those parameters, but they don't get so more specific than that.
Okay. So the difference is that you're doing something on your own, but you're not coming up with it yourself. You're following a direction versus.
Right. Like an ed tech 3 can work with a teacher and then plan some of their own materials versus, a 1 would be given everything.
Okay.
And it would be explained by the teacher to the ed tech, and then the ed tech might carry it out with a different group of students.
And does the evaluation change between these 3 groups at all?
The evaluation of the students or the teacher?
The staff?
No, there's an ed tech standard form that we use for everybody's evaluation.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
And then if something doesn't apply, for instance, a 3 might do things that a 1 doesn't do, we would just put an NA for the 1 under that part of the rubric.
Great. Okay.
But again, please feel free, if you look this over after this meeting, just shoot me an email, ask any questions. I'm happy to meet with the group again. So.
All right. Thank you for that. Thanks for all the hard work. And so now 8.5, Patrick, what about the school construction?
Yeah, probably the happiest news that I've been able to share was when we got that phone call in, was it July? Yeah, in July. So we are number 1 and 22. 1 is Dyke Newell, 22 or 24, I can't remember, is Fisher Mitchell. So just to give an update, I know people in the community have reached out and staff have reached out, and we don't have a lot of information to share at this point, but I would say that we're asking when we can get started, because we're very anxious to get started. But this list that I shared with you is a proposed priority list, but it was based on the ranking that the team came down to do. So that list has to go from proposed priority list to final priority list, and it will happen fairly soon. But if there's a school district that appeals their ranking, then I think the Commissioner of Education has 60 days to respond. Not saying it will take 60 days, but I do know that there was one school district that did appeal. I don't know if there's more than that. They had that timeline or their time to do that has expired. And so the commissioner will take that final list to the State Board of Education for their approval. So I don't know if that could happen in the month of September at their meeting that they have, or if it will happen in October. That again, I can't speculate on when they would get back about the appeal and then when the next step would be. So we have a chart in our office that is a 21-step process that we have to go through with a state-funded project. The next step would be advertising for an architectural firm. And so we have that ad ready to go, but we have to be patient because we would not be following that process. And also as far as reimbursement, we would not be reimbursed for some of our costs as we move forward with this. So for us, it would be being proactive to form a building committee made up of staff, but also community members, and get that solidified, and then be ready to have a meeting with the DOE to talk about the possibility of the combination of the two schools, consolidating the two schools. That has to be a conversation. So that's about all I can share at this point of where we are. We're very excited and, thrilled that this has happened. So it's going to take some time, but again, we're excited. So I don't know if you have any questions. That's about all I can give you right now for an update.
Any questions?
So Patrick, could Dyke Newell get rebuilt but not be approved to combine with Fisher Mitchell? I guess I assume once we had the go ahead of the number one, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think,
So-
again, I don't want to speak for the Department of Education. I can't speak for them, but,
Yeah.
the last couple cycles that have gone through have included schools that their numbers were in a situation where it makes sense to consolidate and to bring them together so that next cycle they're not funding another school that costs even more. And so from an efficiency standpoint, that's what
We've always known this was our intent.
we'd like to do that. And so, but again, we submitted applications for both because that's what we have to do. So it's a conversation that we need to have with the Department of Education
Sure.
as one of the first steps.
And-
But it's not a surprise to them. They've known.
Yeah. So if we didn't combine the new school, the Dyke Newell build out would just be to replace what we lost? I mean, just in general term, like would it be just a rebuilding Dyke Newell through the damages if we didn't get the approval to combine with
No.
Fisher Mitchell?
I mean, we're
Oh.
looking to build a brand new school
Okay.
facility
Yep.
where, I assume that we would do we've done some work with the High Street, the old Dyke Newell site. We've done a site study of that. And so we have some information on that. But I'm sure that we're going to work with the state to canvass the city of Bath again to see what sites there might be for a new elementary school in Bath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it would be one project to just rebuild Dyke Newell, and then it would be a separate project if we were going to combine the two. Like it would be,
No,
No,
our hope is we're doing one project pre-K to 5, but I
Right.
can't. I mean, we have to go
Right.
and talk with them.
sure.
And so that would be our goal, because
Yeah.
we think it financially makes sense, and from an efficiency standpoint, it makes
Sure.
sense, but we have to get their okay and approval and support to do that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Great. Thanks. That was very welcome news. Okay, 8.6 is the out-of-state field trip request. Overnight. Yeah, overnight out of state. Morris High School to Warren Island State Park, and we need a motion for this.
I move to approve the overnight out-of-state field trip.
Great. Do I have a second? Yep, second by Patty. All in favor? Okay, that passes. And we move to 9.0 board goals, if you want to address that today.
Sure, I think we, for communication, our number one goal there, the first goal, I think that we talked a little bit about maybe using more outreach to talk about the clinic services to all of our school systems. I think that the safe and supportive schools, I think definitely having that health clinic available, in terms of the health and services to our students. I think the pre-K programming, definitely having those updated ed tech job descriptions helps, teachers and staff understand what are the expectations and how they can serve the students. And finally, for facilities, I think the amazing list of summer work that was accomplished and the wonderful news about Dyke Newell kind of hit. So I think we end up hitting almost all of our goals this meeting. Thank you.
That's
everyone.
great. Thanks for that. That helps. And then 10 points. So the next meeting date is going to be Monday, September 29th, right here. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second? Second, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.